Put God first. Hello, friend. We're tempted to put a lot of things first, but we need to put God first. Specifically, in 4 areas, we desperately need to put Him first. But I got to be honest, it's a battle. Like, you might see some videos from me where I'm like, stop it. Don't do that. There's nuance, though, isn't there? Like, putting God first is a continual effort. And let's talk about the different areas that we need to do that. Number 1, our mind. Your thoughts. Put them first. That is not going to be your natural human reaction. It'd be really cool if it was. God, it would be way simpler. But our first reaction is going to be our problems. What we don't have, what others have, what we have to do. There's a lot of haves in there. But we only have to have one thing, and that's God. We can do this simply by occupying the space first. See, with all these things we're going to discuss today, that's what we need to do. There's that old example where there's a glass jar, and a professor starts putting into this glass jar. First he puts in water, and some sand, then gravel, and then larger rocks. And by the time he gets to larger rocks, they don't fit in the jar. However, when it starts with the larger rocks, you can fill up that same amount of space with the other things, and it all fits, which is just wild. Your problems, the things you don't have, all of those things, one of the ways we can put Him first is to bring them to Him. Like, not as a genie to fix all your problems, but just talk to Him. It's the simplest hack that I have in my life. If I'm angry at Him, I tell Him. If I'm angry at someone else, we talk about it. If I don't like what I have, I tell Him. Like, I'm a petulant child, but I'm talking to my Father. See, if it brings us to the foot of the cross, God can use it. When it doesn't bring us to God, we're just dangling in the wind. So with your mind, put Him first. Bring whatever you're thinking about, just talk to Him about it. Number 2, our time. We need to put God first with our time. Again, big rocks first. Scheduled. Like, it's why quiet time in the morning with God is so crucial. It's because it sets a precedent, starting your day in that way. Put Him first with your time. Schedule it in. Talked about on other videos, I have timers going off throughout my day. I have time scheduled to reconnect me with God, because it's the natural flow to disconnect. Put Him first with your time. Number 3, put Him first in your focus. I talked about the mind and the time, and this is kind of the correlation of those two. But put Him first with your focus. If that's a struggle for you, worship music, listening to the Bible in your vehicle, reading the Bible in the morning. Like, the more we take up mind space and time space, it's a natural focus space. Put Him first with your focus. Like, I'm sure you have super important things to do today. Nothing is more important than God. Put Him first with your focus. Number 4, put Him first with your calling. It's almost a confessional for me. But oftentimes, calling, for me, becomes an idol. I'm more focused, more time, more mind space on, God, what do you have for me? God, what do you have for me? It's almost Like I'm like, God, just give me this and then you can go away. Like, give me this peace. Thank you. So your calling was given by God. He wired and knit you in your mother's womb for that calling. And God should always be first with the calling. But what do we do when God's not first? Because he's not going to be a lot. Like, I wish it was easy as just do it. But we fall on our face, don't we? We drift and we don't even recognize it till we've drifted quite a ways. We just go through a process like most things, and that's to recognize, to pause and recognize that you're not putting him first with your mind or your time or your focus or your calling. Any one of those. But what I've noticed is when I'm in this point of noticing, he's not first in any of them. See, when he's first in one of them, he becomes first in a lot of them. But it's just to notice, hey, God's not first. I've made my problems bigger than my God. And then to confess that to God. And if it's a stumbling block, just be honest about it. It's a stumbling block for all of us. Get some accountability. Confess it to someone else, flesh and blood. You can put it in the comments if you want to confess it there. You can email me if you don't have someone to confess it. But there is beauty. And it says in the scripture, confess your sin to one another so that you may be healed. There is beauty in it, my friend. Our mind doesn't want to do it. Our flesh doesn't want to do it. But when we confess our sin, we are lighter. I cannot explain it, but I have experienced it. And sometimes I need to confess that sin of not putting God first over and over and over in the same day. And that's okay. His grace is sufficient for you. It's sufficient for me. So when you don't put him first, put him first by trusting him that he died for it. And he forgives you. And take a next step in putting him first. Have a great day, and God bless you as you put God first in your life.